Adrian stared at the stars through the reinforced glass dome of the Nova Lyra colony. The planet stretched endlessly beyond him, its red sands shifting like waves and twin moons casting pale light over the distant mountains. He loved these quiet moments. Out here, among humans and machines, the galaxy seemed less chaotic, almost gentle. But tonight, that peace was about to shift. He was repairing a terraforming drone, a small mechanical device designed to plant microalgae into the soil to generate oxygen for the colony. His hands, skilled from years of tinkering, moved with precise efficiency, adjusting tiny circuits, smoothing wires, and checking sensors. The drone's lights blinked steadily. Green meant functional. Everything seemed normal. Then he heard the voice. "Do you always work alone here?" Startled, Adrian turned. There she was, a figure standing by the entrance, bathed in the silver glow of the moons. At first glance, she looked human, tall, elegant, and quiet. But there was something different. Her eyes were deeper than human eyes, glowing faintly like liquid sapphires. Her hair shimmered faintly, almost as if it contained its own light. And when she smiled, it was the kind of smile that made you feel seen, understood, and somehow important, all at once. "I, usually do," Adrian said, unsure why he suddenly felt nervous. "Can I help you?" She stepped closer, her movements smooth and confident, yet calm, as if she were used to walking among strangers. "I'm Celine. I'm new here. I need someone who understands life. I was told humans are different in this way." "Different?" Adrian asked. He didn't often meet strangers. The colony was small, mostly engineers, scientists, and administrators. But there was something in her voice, a quiet urgency, that made him set the drone aside and give her his full attention. Celine hesitated, then spoke again, slowly, carefully. "I want a child." Adrian blinked. The words hung in the air, impossible and yet very real. "A child?" he repeated, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Yes, I want a baby, but I cannot do it alone." Adrian felt his mind race. He wanted to respond, but nothing seemed appropriate. The colony had always been about science, rules, and caution, yet here was someone asking for something deeply human, something no procedure or technology could fully explain. "Does that mean you want me to?" he began, but stopped himself. The words felt clumsy, inadequate. Celine smiled, faintly, almost sadly. "I only ask because you are human. You understand emotions. You understand bonds. My people. We have the knowledge to create life artificially, but we cannot experience it. We do not know the joy, the connection, the wonder. That is why I am asking you." Adrian swallowed hard. He had read about alien species, of course, some friendly, some hostile. Most were distant, calculating, and precise. But this was not science. This was intimacy. This was trust. I don't know if I can help," he admitted. "I mean, I'm not experienced in this kind of, this kind of thing." Celine's expression softened. "I do not need experience. I need understanding. And humans understand the heart. You can feel things no algorithm can predict. That is why I ask you." Adrian looked down at his hands. They were rough, scarred from years of work with machines and metal, yet they could also be gentle. He could fix drones, repair circuits, and design systems, but could he help create life? Could he really give someone the experience of love, of parenthood? Before he could answer, Celine reached out, lightly touching his arm. The contact was warm, reassuring. "Think of it not as a favor, but as a shared journey. You will not be alone. I promise." Adrian exhaled slowly. His heart beat faster, though he couldn't explain why. Something about her presence, her calm determination, made the impossible seem possible. "I need time," he said finally. This, it's a lot to take in. Celine nodded. I understand. I will wait. Days passed. Adrian found himself thinking about Celine more than he cared to admit. He would catch glimpses of her walking through the colony, studying the plants in the biodome, or watching the night sky with a quiet awe. She seemed both curious and careful, cautious, yet daring, a combination he rarely saw in anyone, human or alien. One evening, while Adrian was repairing a broken atmospheric sensor on the colony's edge, Celine appeared again. This time, she brought something with her, a small, glowing vial containing a swirling, liquid-like substance. This is part of me, she explained. It carries the potential for life, but without a human, without a heart to guide it, it cannot grow. Adrian stared at the vial. He could see tiny motes of light moving inside it, almost like stars forming in miniature. And you want me to... what? Help it grow? Yes, Celine said softly. Not with technology alone. Not with science alone. With understanding, with care, with connection. That is what humans do better than any machine or alien logic. Adrian felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He was a simple engineer. He fixed things, he built machines, he solved problems. But this was unlike anything he had ever faced. This was about life in its purest form. Why me? He asked, almost whispering. Because humans dream, humans feel, humans take risks for love, for hope, for something bigger than themselves. That is what is needed. That is why I am asking you. Adrian looked at her, really looked for the first time. There was no pressure, no coercion, only hope. And in that hope, he found something familiar, something that reminded him of why humans had always survived against impossible odds, courage, curiosity, and the willingness to try when failure seemed certain. I think I can try, he said finally. Not because I know how, but because it feels like the right thing to do. Celine's eyes brightened. That is all I need. Together, we will learn. Together we will discover what it means to create life. The days that followed were unlike anything Adrian had experienced. He and Celine spent long hours in the lab, talking, learning, and experimenting. Not with full science yet, not the actual creation, but learning the principles, studying biology, and finding ways their two worlds could connect. Adrian realized that Celine's species had knowledge humans could never dream of, but humans had something Celine could not understand fully: intuition, emotion, and creativity. Even as they worked, Adrian couldn't help but notice small human moments in Celine. The way she laughed at simple jokes, the way she frowned when things went wrong, and the way her eyes lit up when she saw something beautiful. She was alien, yes, but there was something deeply human about her desire to experience life. And in those quiet moments, Adrian began to understand something profound. The heart of being human was not just in surviving, building, or understanding the universe. It was in connecting, in taking risks for something greater than oneself, and in daring to dream, even when the odds were impossible. By the time the twin moons of Nova Lyra rose high in the sky, Adrian felt a strange excitement. He didn't yet know how this journey would end. He didn't yet know if he could succeed. But one thing was certain. He had stepped into a story far bigger than himself, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly alive. Tomorrow, he said quietly to himself, everything changes. And Celine, standing beside him, simply smiled. The morning light spilled across Nova Lyra, painting the colony's red sands in shades of gold and orange. Adrian had barely slept. Thoughts of Celine and her request, the child, the journey they were about to undertake, kept him awake. It was not just the science that weighed on him, but the enormity of the decision. Life, a new life. something no engineer had ever been asked to create outside of circuits or machines. He walked toward the central lab, his mind spinning. Machines hummed, air filters whirred, and drones zipped past, delivering supplies. To everyone else, it was a normal day. To Adrian, it was the first day of a new path, one that could change the future of both humans and Selene's species. Selene was already in the lab, her eyes focused on a holographic display showing detailed images of her species' reproductive cells. The display shimmered in the soft morning light. She looked up as Adrian entered. "Good morning," she said softly. "I hope you slept well." "I did, I guess," Adrian muttered. "Couldn't stop thinking about all of this?" Selene nodded, understanding in her gaze. "It is a lot. I will not pretend otherwise, but that is why I need you. Not just your mind, but your patience, your intuition. You will help me feel what I have never felt before." Adrian took a deep breath and walked over to the workbench. On it sat the vial he had seen before, glowing faintly with a liquid that seemed alive, moving gently as if it had its own heartbeat. He reached out but stopped. How do we even start?" Selene smiled, a mix of excitement and nervousness. "First, we must understand each other. My people have perfected life creation through technology, but the experience, the connection, that is missing. Humans carry something we do not. Emotion, intuition, creativity. You must teach me that." Adrian swallowed. "So, this isn't just science?" "No," Selene said. "It is science, and more. It is life. It is hope. And if we succeed, it will be the first time my species feels the miracle of parenthood." Adrian thought about the colony council, the scientists and administrators who had always stressed rules, data, and safety. If they learned he was attempting something so unprecedented, they might stop him. Yet, when he looked at Selene, he felt compelled to try. Humans had always faced the impossible with courage, and maybe, just maybe, he could help her. Over the next few days, Adrian and Selene met with the colony's leading scientists. Dr. Malik, the head biologist, raised his eyebrows when he saw the vial. "This substance, Selene, what exactly is it?" "It carries life," Selene explained. "Potential for life. But without human interaction, it cannot grow. I need your guidance, your understanding, your heart." Dr. Malik frowned, skeptical. "You are asking a human to what? Assist in gestation? Reproduction? This is highly unorthodox. The ethics committee will never approve." Selene's eyes did not waver. "I am aware. That is why I have chosen him. Adrian. He is not bound by protocol. He is human, and he understands what we cannot. We need trust, not bureaucracy." Adrian shifted uneasily. I don't know if I can do this alone. I mean, even with her asking me, I'm just an engineer." Selene placed a hand on his arm. "You are enough. Your mind is capable, and your heart even more so. We will learn together. Do you trust me?" Adrian hesitated. Then, slowly, he nodded. I think I do." With that, the real work began. The first task was understanding the biology. Selene's species had a form of cellular life vastly different from humans, yet surprisingly adaptable. They could create life from a genetic blueprint, but the experience of nurturing it, the emotion, the bond, that was foreign to them. Adrian explained how humans relied not only on biology, but on connection, empathy, and instinct. "We don't just carry life," Adrian said one day, staring at the glowing vial. "We feel it, we protect it, we teach it, we shape it with care, not just science." Selene listened, fascinated. "And that makes all the difference?" "Yes," Adrian said. "It's why humans survive in impossible places. not just because of technology, but because we feel responsibility. We adapt. We care. As they spoke, Adrian began drawing up diagrams, small sketches showing how hybrid gestation might work, combining Selene's species technology with human principles of care. It was delicate work. One wrong move could destroy the vial or make it impossible for life to develop. Yet Selene's calm determination reassured him. Days turned into weeks. They conducted simulations, tested hybrid growth patterns in contained environments, and carefully monitored every chemical reaction, every pulse of energy within the vial. The colony watched with curiosity. Many scientists whispered about the human factor Selene insisted upon, some skeptical, others intrigued. Adrian found himself learning from Selene as much as she was learning from him. She had knowledge humans could not imagine, understanding of molecular structures and energy manipulation far beyond human science. And yet, when she laughed at his jokes or tilted her head in confusion, he saw glimpses of innocence, wonder, and curiosity, emotions that made her more relatable, more human than he could have imagined. One evening, after a long day of work, Adrian stepped outside the lab. The twin moons hung low over the red horizon, reflecting silver light across the sands. Selene joined him silently, her presence comforting. "You're worried," she said softly. Adrian nodded. "It's not just worry. It's everything. The responsibility, the unknown. What if we fail?" Selene looked at him, her eyes steady. "Then we learn. Failure is part of life. Humans understand this better than any species. You do not fear trying, even when the outcome is uncertain. That is why you are needed." He sighed. "I guess. But it's still a lot." "Everything worth doing is," Selene said. "And think, if we succeed, the child will be more than just life. It will be a symbol, a bridge between species, proof that human courage and alien knowledge can create something new." Adrian considered her words. A bridge between species. He felt pride stir inside him, a mix of fear and excitement. Humans had always believed in reaching beyond themselves, exploring the unknown, facing dangers that others would never dare. And now, he had a chance to do something no one had done before. In the lab, their experiments continued. Adrian noticed subtle reactions within the vial, tiny pulses that responded to their presence, their words, even their emotions. It fascinated him. Could life truly respond to care and attention? Could it recognize connection, even at a cellular level? "This is incredible," Adrian whispered one day. "It's alive, not just chemically, but emotionally somehow." Selene's face lit with joy. "You feel it too? That is exactly what I hoped for. That is the bond humans speak of. You are teaching me more than I imagined." As the weeks passed, Adrian and Selene developed routines. Mornings were spent in careful experiments and simulations. Afternoons were for observation, noting how the vial's energy shifted with changes in temperature, light, and even spoken words. Nights were for quiet reflection, discussions about life, hope, and dreams for the future. The colony watched from a distance, curiosity slowly turning into respect. Even the skeptical scientists began to see the potential of combining human emotion with alien technology. Slowly, the impossible started to feel achievable. One evening, Adrian looked at Selene, standing next to the glowing vial. He realized something. He wasn't just helping her. He was learning about himself, about what humans could offer the universe beyond machines and logic. Humans had heart. Humans had courage. Humans could turn hope into reality. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we'll try the next step." Selene smiled. "And I will be ready, because together we are more than one species. We are life itself." Adrian nodded, feeling a strange excitement mixed with apprehension. The journey ahead was uncertain, full of risk, but also full of promise. For the first time in his life, he understood the weight and wonder of creating life. Not as a machine, not as a scientist, but as a human. And somewhere deep inside, he felt a stirring he had never felt before. Hope. The lab was quiet, filled with the soft hum of machines and the occasional beep of sensors. Adrian stood over the workbench, staring at the glowing vial in Celine's hands. Today was the day they would begin the first real stage of the experiment. Months of planning, discussion, and careful preparation had led to this moment. Celine's eyes met his, calm but bright with anticipation. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Adrian nodded, though he felt his chest tighten. "I think so. I don't want to make a mistake." "You won't," Celine said. "We have prepared, we are careful, and we have each other. That is more than enough." He took a deep breath and began the setup. The hybrid incubation chamber glimmered under the lab lights, a cylindrical structure lined with advanced sensors and environmental controls. Inside, the vial would be carefully connected to a bio-interface, designed to monitor every reaction and supply the right energies for the life within. Celine placed the vial gently into the chamber, her hands steady. "This is the start," she whispered. "The first time my species experiences natural development, and you are a part of it." Adrian felt a mix of pride and fear. His mind raced with questions. What if it didn't work? What if the child could not survive? What if they had overlooked something? He reminded himself, humans had always faced impossible odds. They had survived diseases, disasters, and wars because they never gave up. "Let's begin," he said. The interface hummed to life, lights blinking in sequence. Adrian monitored the readouts carefully. Temperature, energy flow, chemical balance, all within the safe range. Celine adjusted the interface settings, her fingers moving with practiced precision. For hours, they watched the vial. Small pulses of light traveled through the liquid, faint sparks that seemed to respond to their presence. Adrian felt a strange warmth in his chest. Could life truly feel intention, attention, or care? He wasn't sure, but it seemed possible. "Do you feel that?" Celine asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Adrian nodded. "Yes, it's like it knows we're here. Like it's alive in a way beyond biology." Celine smiled. "That is what I hoped for. That is the bond humans create. Connection, attention, care. That is why I asked you." As the hours passed, they faced their first real challenge. The vial's energy pulses began fluctuating wildly, faster and stronger than before. Adrian's hands moved quickly, adjusting the interface, checking connections, and stabilizing the environment. "It's reacting to our emotions," Celine said, watching closely. "It's sensitive to intent, to focus. But if it becomes too strong, it could destabilize the process." Adrian frowned, concentrating. "Okay, we need calm. Careful thought. Focus on stability." He closed his eyes, imagining the life inside growing steady and strong, just as he would imagine repairing a delicate machine. But this was far more important than any machine he had ever fixed. After tense minutes, the pulses steadied. Adrian exhaled, relief flooding him. "It worked," he whispered. "It stabilized." Celine placed her hand over his. "Yes, we did it together." Days turned into weeks, and the experiment continued. They discovered that the vial's life responded to both scientific precision and emotional energy. Too much excitement, and the energy pulses would spike. Too little attention, and the development slowed. Adrian realized something extraordinary. Human intuition, care, and emotion were as vital as technology in creating this life. One evening, After another successful session, Adrian stepped outside for a break. The red sands glowed under the twin moons, serene and vast. Celine joined him, silent at first, then spoke. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Humans, your species. You understand the balance of science and heart. That is rare in the universe." Adrian smiled faintly. "I think I'm just starting to understand what you've been asking all along. This life inside the vial, it's more than molecules. It's more than energy. It's hope, responsibility, connection." Celine nodded. "Exactly. And that is why I asked you. Not for knowledge alone, but for your humanity, for your heart." The bond between them deepened. Adrian found himself thinking about Celine not just as an alien with a request, but as a partner in discovery. They laughed together, argued gently over procedures, and shared quiet moments under the colony's glowing moons. He felt a warmth he had never experienced before, the comfort of trust, the excitement of the unknown, and the awe of witnessing creation. Then came their first unexpected setback. One morning, the vial's energy surged violently. Alarms blared in the lab, and lights flickered. Adrian rushed to the controls, heart pounding. "It's destabilizing! We need to calm it!" Celine moved swiftly, adjusting energy flows and carefully shielding the vial. "Focus, Adrian! Focus! We can stabilize it!" Adrian closed his eyes, inhaling deeply. He imagined the life inside the vial, fragile but resilient, needing care, not just control. Slowly, deliberately, he calmed his thoughts, poured steady intention into the interface, and guided Celine's adjustments. Minutes passed, which felt like hours, and then the pulses returned to a steady rhythm. Adrian exhaled, leaning against the console. We did it," he said, exhausted but elated. Celine placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, together. That is the difference. Together, we are more than one species. We are creators." As the experiment continued, Adrian and Celine noticed remarkable changes. Tiny patterns of life within the vial began organizing themselves in ways neither human nor alien science could fully explain. The hybrid organism exhibited behaviors that suggested awareness, responsiveness, and even curiosity. "It's learning," Adrian whispered one day. "It reacts to us, to our care. It's adapting." Celine's eyes sparkled. "This is the miracle I hoped for. That humans could teach me something my species never could. How to nurture, how to connect, how to care beyond knowledge." Weeks passed. The vial became more than a scientific project. It became a symbol of possibility, of what humans could bring to the universe beyond technology and logic. Adrian realized that humans were uniquely capable of bridging gaps between species, between science and emotion, between what was known and what was possible. One night, after another long session, Adrian and Celine sat together outside the lab, watching the moons rise. The red sands stretched endlessly, silent and still. "You've changed this process," Celine said softly. "Not with machines or calculations, but with your heart. That is human." Adrian smiled faintly. "I guess I'm learning too. About you, about life, about responsibility, about what it really means to create something that matters." Selene leaned her head slightly against his shoulder. "We are creating life together, and that is only the beginning." Adrian nodded, staring up at the stars. He felt a strange mix of fear, excitement, and hope. They were facing something impossible, yet the impossible was slowly becoming real. In that moment, he understood what Celine had meant from the beginning. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were creators, dreamers, and pioneers. Humans could take something fragile, unknown, and miraculous, and nurture it into reality. And as he watched the twin moons rise over Nova Lyra, He knew one thing for certain. They were on the verge of a miracle. Tomorrow, the experiment would continue. And Adrian, for the first time in his life, felt ready to face whatever challenges came next, because he was not alone. Together, he and Celine were shaping life itself. Weeks had passed since the start of the hybrid experiment, and the lab had transformed into a quiet world of anticipation. Adrian and Celine spent nearly every hour monitoring the glowing vial, watching the life within grow and develop. The hybrid organism was no longer a mere collection of cells. It pulsed with energy, tiny sparks of movement hinting at intelligence, responsiveness, and vitality. Adrian had grown protective. He would stand for hours beside the chamber, carefully observing the patterns, making tiny adjustments, and speaking to the life inside as if words alone could guide its growth. Celine often watched him with fascination. "You treat it as if it is already alive," she remarked one evening. "It is alive," Adrian replied softly. "Maybe not like us yet, but it is. It reacts to care, to attention, to connection." "That's life, isn't it?" Celine smiled. "Yes, that is what I have always wanted to understand. Life with heart, with bond, with meaning." The weeks were not without challenges. Despite their careful planning, there were moments when the energy patterns fluctuated unpredictably, threatening instability. Each time, Adrian and Celine worked together to stabilize the vial, combining alien technology with human intuition. Each time, they succeeded, slowly learning how much the hybrid organism responded to emotional connection. One day, the colony's lead scientists came to observe. Dr. Malik, who had once been skeptical, now watched with wonder. "I've never seen anything like this," he admitted. "It's not just a biological reaction, it's aware, responsive, almost intelligent." Adrian felt a swell of pride. "It's learning, adapting. It reacts to care, attention, and guidance. That's something no algorithm or program could ever teach it. That's human." Celine's eyes shone. "Exactly, and it is proof that humans bring more to the universe than technology. You bring heart. You bring courage. You bring hope." The hybrid organism continued to develop at a remarkable pace. Its form was small, delicate, and constantly shifting. Patterns of energy created miniature tendrils of light, tiny flashes that hinted at movement, awareness, and even curiosity. Adrian spent hours gently placing his hands near the chamber, speaking softly, focusing his thoughts on the life inside. He found that the more calm, deliberate, and patient he was, the more stable and vibrant the pulses became. Celine joined him each day, learning to mirror his focus, using her alien abilities to enhance the life's energy balance. Together they created a rhythm, a harmony of human intuition and alien precision. Slowly, the impossible was becoming tangible. Then came the first sign of what could truly be called a miracle. One morning, Adrian entered the lab and froze. The vial glowed brighter than it ever had, casting shimmering patterns across the room. Tiny tendrils of light had begun forming miniature structures, almost like tiny limbs or sensory appendages. They moved gently, exploring the chamber as if the organism were aware of its surroundings. "It's moving," Adrian whispered, awe filling his voice. "It's exploring. It's aware." Celine stepped closer, her hand hovering over the chamber. "It is, and it is responding to us. Not just to the environment, but to care, to connection." "You were right. Life is more than chemistry. It is presence." Adrian felt a lump in his throat. This was not just science. This was creation, something miraculous, fragile, and breathtakingly alive. For the first time, he felt the full weight of what they were doing. Over the next few days, the hybrid organism continued to develop, responding to voice, attention, and even subtle gestures from both Adrian and Celine. The patterns of energy became more complex, showing intelligence and awareness far beyond expectations. Adrian realized that the combination of human empathy and alien technology had created something extraordinary, something no one had imagined possible. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Adrian and Celine stood together beside the chamber. The organism pulsed gently, almost as if breathing. Adrian reached out, resting a hand on the glass. "Do you see it?" he asked softly. "It's aware, alive, and it trusts us." Celine nodded, her eyes glistening with emotion. "Yes, and that is the true miracle. Life that feels connection, life that experiences bond. My species has knowledge, but humans have heart." Adrian smiled faintly, overwhelmed with pride and wonder. "We did it together." But the miracle came with responsibility. The hybrid organism's rapid development required constant monitoring, careful attention, and emotional presence. Adrian and Celine learned that even small distractions could destabilize the growth. They adjusted their schedules, their focus, and their energy, dedicating themselves entirely to the task. One night, Adrian woke to find Celine already in the lab, quietly observing the vial. The soft glow illuminated her face, showing a mixture of wonder and worry. "You shouldn't be alone," Adrian said, stepping beside her. Celine shook her head. "I could not sleep. I had to see it. It is extraordinary, and I feel protective. I want it to thrive." Adrian understood completely. "We both do. That's why we're here together." They spent the night watching, speaking softly and focusing their thoughts. The organism pulsed in response, delicate tendrils of light extending toward them, almost as if reaching for connection. Adrian felt a strange, indescribable warmth, the first time he truly understood the depth of life beyond biology. Days passed, and the hybrid organism continued to thrive. Its development was faster than expected, showing small signs of intelligence and responsiveness. Adrian and Celine noticed patterns of curiosity. It reacted differently to various tones of voice, gestures, and even emotions. It was learning, adapting, and beginning to form a unique personality. The colony began to take notice. Scientists who had doubted, who had feared ethical violations, now observed with awe and respect. The organism's development was not just scientific, it was miraculous. It was proof that human care, combined with advanced alien knowledge, could create life that was intelligent, aware, and emotionally responsive. Adrian felt a profound sense of pride. He realized that humans were not just builders of machines or conquerors of planets. They were creators in the truest sense. They could nurture, guide, and inspire life in ways no technology alone could achieve. One evening, as the twin moons hung low, Adrian and Celine stepped outside the lab to breathe. The red sands glowed in the moonlight, silent and beautiful. "Do you think it will survive?" Adrian asked quietly. Celine smiled, a soft glow in her eyes. "It will, because it has us, because it has connection. That is stronger than any technology, stronger than any science. That is life." Adrian nodded. He thought about the journey that had led them here, from the moment Celine had asked for his help, to the weeks of careful preparation, to the first miraculous signs of awareness. He understood now that the miracle was not just in the hybrid organism, it was in what humans could offer to the universe: heart, courage, hope, and the ability to care. As they watched the glowing vial, Adrian felt a new sense of purpose. Life was fragile, miraculous, and full of possibility. And humans. Humans could shape it, nurture it, and help it thrive. For the first time, he felt the full weight and beauty of creation. And as the organism pulsed gently in its chamber, Adrian realized that this was only the beginning. The hybrid life was more than a scientific experiment. It was a symbol, a promise, and a bridge between species. Tomorrow, they would continue guiding it, teaching it, and watching it grow. And Adrian knew one thing for certain. Humanity had shown its true power. Not in machines, not in technology, but in the ability to care, to connect, and to create miracles. And in that realization, he felt hope for the future, hope for the child, hope for the universe, and hope for what humans could achieve when they dared to dream beyond the stars. The colony was quiet that morning, bathed in the soft glow of Nova Lyra's twin suns. Adrian stood beside the hybrid incubation chamber, watching the life inside. The pulses of light had grown stronger, more steady, almost rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Weeks of careful nurturing, endless hours of attention, and patient guidance had led to this moment. Celine entered quietly, her face illuminated by the gentle glow. "Are you ready?" she asked softly. Adrian took a deep breath. "As ready as I'll ever be." They had both learned so much. The hybrid organism was no longer fragile or uncertain. Its awareness had grown, responding to both of them in subtle, intelligent ways. Tendrils of light now reached toward their hands, reacting to voice, presence, and gentle gestures. It was alive, not just as a biological entity, but as a being capable of curiosity, emotion, and connection. Today, it would leave the chamber. Today, the hybrid child would truly begin its life in the world. Celine carefully lifted the vessel containing the organism, and Adrian guided the interface to stabilize its environment. Slowly, the small being began to move on its own. Its energy pulses shifted in response to touch, to warmth, to care. It was as if it recognized its parents, not in human terms, but in a way beyond words. Adrian felt a lump in his throat. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Celine's eyes glistened. "Yes, and it is proof. Proof that humans, with their hearts and courage, can guide life in ways no technology alone can achieve." The hybrid child's first movements outside the chamber were tentative. Tiny tendrils of light stretched, exploring the environment. It responded to gentle words, soft tones. And even the way Adrian and Celine looked at it, its awareness was astonishing, small but undeniable. As the weeks passed, the child grew stronger. Its form was a perfect blend of human and Selena's species, delicate yet resilient, alien yet familiar. It learned quickly, mimicking gestures, responding to emotions, and even showing early signs of curiosity and playfulness. Adrian found himself laughing more than he had in years. "It's learning so fast," he said one day, "faster than I imagined." Celine smiled, her eyes soft with pride. "That is the gift of combining knowledge with care. Your species brings heart, courage, and connection. My species brings precision and understanding. Together we have created something new." The colony watched with awe. Scientists who had once doubted were now amazed. Administrators who feared ethical dilemmas were inspired. The hybrid child had become more than a scientific project. It was a symbol, proof that cooperation between species, guided by empathy and intelligence, could achieve the impossible. Adrian and Celine spent every day teaching, guiding, and caring for the child. They discovered it responded not only to direct attention, but also to the energy of their bond. When they worked together in harmony, it thrived. When their attention wavered, it slowed. The lessons were clear. Life, even in its most miraculous form, required connection, consistency, and love. One afternoon, as they watched the child explore a small biodome filled with Earth-like plants, Adrian realized something profound. "We've done more than create life," he said quietly. We've shown what humans can bring to the universe. Not just survival or technology, but heart, courage, hope. We've shown that life can be nurtured in ways no machine can achieve. Celine nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of the hybrid child's energy. Yes. And it is only the beginning. The child will teach us as much as we teach it. It will grow, adapt, and one day show both our species what is possible. As the weeks turned into months, the child continued to thrive. It exhibited remarkable intelligence, a natural curiosity, and a gentle disposition. It responded to both humans and alien species, bridging gaps between worlds and cultures. Adrian realized that this child, born from collaboration, care, and courage, was more than a miracle. It was a message that humans, with all their flaws and strengths, had something unique to offer the universe. One evening, under the light of Nova Lyra's twin moons, Adrian reflected on how far they had come. He remembered the first night Celine had approached him, asking for help. He remembered the fear, the uncertainty, and the weight of responsibility. And now, here they were, witnessing life in its most extraordinary form. Celine stood beside him, her hand brushing his. "Do you ever think about what life would have been like if we hadn't tried?" she asked softly. Adrian shook his head. "No, I can't imagine it. This is too important, too real, too beautiful. And I'm proud of what we've done, proud of what humans can do." The child moved toward them, tiny sparks of light stretching in greeting. It was no longer just energy inside a vial, it was a being with presence, awareness, and personality. Adrian knelt, extending a hand, and the child responded, gently touching him with a tendril of light. The sensation was warm, comforting, and alive. "This is amazing," Adrian whispered. It really is alive." Celine's eyes softened. "And it will grow. And one day, it will change the universe in ways we cannot yet imagine. Because it carries the best of both our species, and because it has been nurtured by humans." As the child explored the biodome, Adrian realized that this journey had changed him. He understood that humans were capable of incredible things, not just because of intelligence or technology, but because of their heart, courage, and willingness to care. Humans had survived impossible odds on Earth, on Nova Lyra, and now they had created a life that could bridge worlds. The colony celebrated the child's first month. Scientists documented its development, administrators recognized the unprecedented achievement, and other species began to take notice. Humanity's role in the galaxy was no longer just about exploration or survival. It was about creation, empathy, and hope. Adrian and Celine watched the celebrations from a quiet corner of the biodome. "We did it," Adrian said softly. "Yes," Celine replied. "We did. Together." The hybrid child paused, looking up at them, tiny tendrils stretching toward both Adrian and Celine. It was as if it understood the significance of this moment, not just its own existence, but the bond between species that had made it possible. Adrian smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. "I never imagined I'd be part of something like this." But being human means stepping into the unknown, taking risks and nurturing life. And now, I understand what that truly means. Celine squeezed his hand gently. "And you have done it. You have shown what humans are capable of. Courage, hope, heart." The hybrid child moved between them, a living symbol of possibility, connection, and unity. Adrian realized that this was the future, not just for the child, but for all who would come after. Humanity, with all its strengths, fears, and dreams, had a unique place in the universe. They were not just survivors or explorers. They were creators, nurturers, and dreamers. And as the twin moons of Nova Lyra rose high, casting silver light across the red sands, Adrian understood something profound. The story of life was far from over. Humanity's journey had only begun, and with heart, courage, and hope, they could shape the universe in ways no one had ever imagined. Celine watched the child with pride, then looked at Adrian. "This is our legacy," she said softly. "Not just the child, but what it represents: life, connection, and the courage to create." Adrian nodded. "Yes, and we'll continue. We'll guide it, teach it, and watch it grow. Together." The child's energy pulsed brighter, as if responding to their promise. It was alive, aware, and full of potential. A bridge between worlds, a symbol of unity, and proof that humans, with all their heart, could shape miracles. For Adrian, Celine, and the colony, the future was no longer uncertain. It was bright, full of possibility, and guided by the most powerful force in the universe, the human heart. And as they stood together, watching the hybrid child explore its new world, Adrian whispered to himself, a smile on his face. "Being a dad, I think I understand now. And it's the greatest adventure I've ever had."